Previously on Mass Effect 3, not much happened. Today, I'd like to talk about Quarians. Some time ago, Admiral Hackett directed us to track down the Quarians. The Quarian flotilla ran off to the far rim around about the time the Reapers strolled into town. We need their fleet, so we're going to go see them and find out what it is they want in return.
Commander Shepard, I'm Admiral Tali'Zorah in Western Bay. I wish we could have met under better circumstances.
I had hoped for your support in the fight against the Reapers. What's going on?
17 days ago, with precision strikes on 4 geth systems, the Quarians initiated the war to retake our homeworld.
Which was a clear violation of our agreement with the Council to avoid provoking the geth.
A treaty violation is nothing compared to recovering our homeworld and advanced AI technology.
We first met the Admiralty in Mass Effect 2, when they wanted to try one of our crew members for treason. The whole trial turned out to be a political power play about a war to retake the homeworld. The mission in general sets up a lot of the background for this arc. We already know the personalities of the Admiralty board, we know who's for the war and who's against it. In case we've forgotten though, each of the admirals gets a line that sums up their position and attitude towards the war.
Don't bother. Admitting we were wrong would undercut the justification for this suicidal invasion plan.
You're throwing yourselves at the geth? Again?
And this time, we may have destroyed our people for good.
We'd driven the geth back to the home system when this signal began broadcasting to all geth ships.
The Reapers.
Under Reaper control, the geth are significantly more effective. Our fleet is pinned in the home system. If we're going to win,
Win? You insisted on involving the civilian ships, Admiral Gerrel. We need to retreat or we'll lose the live ships.
Where's the signal coming from?
Here. A geth dreadnought. It can outgun anything we've got, and it's heavily defended.
The Normandy stealth drive can get us in undetected. I could board, then disable the Reaper command signal.
Yes, cutting off the signal should throw the geth into complete disarray.
And while they're confused, you get to a mass relay and retreat.
Good. Our civilian ships have seen too much fighting already. Are you certain you can disable the signal?
We'll get you out of there safely, Admiral.
Our newest Admiral has also volunteered to offer technical expertise.
Tali'Zorah Vast Normandy, reporting for duty.
Glad you could make it, Tali. Admirals, I'll ready a team to hit that dreadnought.
Thank you, Commander.
Our first introduction to the Quarians as a species, though, came in the form of everyone's favourite full-length body pillow, Tali'Zorah Nerea. Tali, like Garrison Liara, is one of the few squad members to appear in every game. She will be joining the team later. Now, originally, BioWare only wanted Tali present for this arc, kind of like Rex. At the end, she'd be written out of the story. After a fan outcry though, BioWare changed their minds, and Tali now joins the squad after our final mission on Rannoch. This is one of those awkward little facts that undermines my privileging of BioWare's vision over the fan response. Don't worry, I'll address them in due time.
People look to me for guidance. Public disagreement would divide the fleet.
I'll get your people out of here safely, Tali.
Thanks, Shepard. And just so you know, I need to keep things strictly business in front of the admirals. If you'd like to catch up, let's talk somewhere private.
Sure thing.
I'm ready to hit that dreadnought whenever you are. That dreadnought is tearing through our fleet. Let me know when you're ready to hit it.
How did the war with the geth get started anyway?
Admiral Zen developed a scanning countermeasure that interferes with geth active scans. It's like a flashbang grenade. It effectively crippled the geth ships in combat. My fleet couldn't pass up the chance to attack.
So how did you end up back with your fleet, Tali?
When the war started, the Admiralty Board asked for my help. I had more recent contact with the geth than most of my people. They hadn't filled the spot on the board left by my father. I was invited in. It's just a technicality. I'm far too young to be a real admiral.
Don't sell yourself short, Tali. The board needed your expertise. You needed the authority that comes with rank.
So what about Legion?
What about it? Legion died.
Our second introduction to the Quarians as a species came in the form of everyone's favourite street dancer, Legion. Legion brought a different perspective, specifically the perspective of the geth, the Quarians' mortal enemies come children, come missing halves. I'll talk more about Legion in another video, but for now, the important thing is that, like Mordin, like Rex, Legion is dead.
1,200 unique ship signatures engaged in active combat.
Yeah, like I said.
Take us in, Joker.
Stealth drive engaged. Only way they'll detect us is if you all start singing the Russian national anthem.
My cyber warfare suite has accessed their docking protocols.
All right. Once we're aboard, we find whatever's broadcasting the Reaper signal and shut it down. Tali's our expert on geth software. She'll be handling hacking and security.
Your expertise with the geth is a welcome addition, Tali.
Edie, so... a body?
It has proven useful. I hope it doesn't cause you concern.
Not unless you go crazy and decide to overthrow the humans.
If I decide to overthrow the humans, you will be the first to know.
Shepard, there's a problem. All tubes except one are physically secured.
This is kind of a goof, but I don't think it's as bad as Jarvik's. All of the characters here suit up in full helmet and armour because, of course, there's no air on a robot spaceship. Jarvik, though, doesn't have a model with a helmet or oxygen mask, so he just shows up as normal. Maybe he just holds his breath for the hour.
No wonder the Quarians were having trouble. That ship is enormous.
It is 30% larger than an Alliance dreadnought.
Tali, you're gonna like the view.
Better than a vid?
Much. Looks like the rest of the team isn't using the docking tube.
So I'm guessing you'd rather not solo the Dreadnought.
Not if I can help it. Ask Tali to get on the Dreadnought schematics. If she can point me at another docking tube, I'll override the controls and let the boarding party on. Alright, I've got gravity again.
Great. I'm looking for... Got it. There should be a hull breach not far from your position. The nearest undamaged docking tube is on the other side.
Think I found that hull breach you mentioned.
Admiral Geralt tried a frontal assault. We lost 6 frigates. That tiny hole was the only damage we did.
I wouldn't call it tiny. Not the way you'd have done it?
No, he was too aggressive. I argued, but as Admiral of the Heavy Fleet, it was ultimately his decision.
What about the other admirals?
Zen backed the invasion, largely as a chance to test her toys. Ron gave provisional support. Only Chorus opposed the war with me, and he was right. We could lose the whole fleet, Shepard.
We'll get your people out of here safely. I found another airlock. I think we're good to go.
Great. If you override the controls, we'll be right there.
Got it. You're clear to board.
Thank you, Shepard. I will try to find a more convenient docking point next time.
Next time?
Here, let me see if I can get this open. In the meantime, take a look at this. There, it's open. We're clear to go.
Looks impressive.
It's Admiral Zen's design. It transmits an energy pulse on contact that disrupts shields and synthetics.
So where are we headed?
We're looking for an operations center. I can disable the Reaper command signal from there.
Where's the closest one?
Past their defense network and through a sensor cluster.
Guardian anti-fighter lasers. I believe the Dreadnought's using ultraviolet frequencies instead of the standard infrared.
Expensive. Bet it gives them an edge in close combat, though.
When the fleet rushed the Dreadnought, those lasers carved right through our...
The Rannoch arc introduces a new enemy type, the geth. Well, new to Mass Effect 3 anyway. The geth only appear in a handful of missions, so the lineup is quite limited. Aside from your basic trooper, we'll also meet geth rocket troopers, shotgun-wielding cloaked geth hunters, geth pyros, and geth primes.
Watch out! Geth incoming!
Apart from the primes, all the geth share the same basic visual profile and movement pattern. It's more noticeable in multiplayer when kiting enemies. Cerberus and Reapers tend to string out more, as Husks run ahead or Guardians lag behind. The geth all move at the same speed though, so they tend to clump together in a big death ball more often. There's also, thankfully, no melee geth, though hunters, pyros and primes are all very aggressive in getting up close and ruining your day.
Every unit on this ship.
There's lots to say about Quarians. As I've mentioned before, Lt.D is the object of quite a fair bit of inappropriate attention by a certain segment of the fanbase. Now, it could just be that there's an untapped audience for a gas mask fetish out there, but I think it might have something to do with the design of the Quarians as a whole.
It is unsurprising that the Quarians have been unable to disrupt it.
Tribalism is a source of identity. You identify with your community, your territory, and you don't identify so much with outsiders. Now, there's tons of ways this can be expressed. You can guess most of them, I'm sure. But one in particular is a hostility towards migrants. It's not necessarily a matter of race or religion, though that's often tied into it. Economic migrants, even those from within the same country, can also be treated with distrust and disdain. I'm thinking in particular the example of early modern England, where agricultural reforms led to rural workers travelling to towns and cities in search of food and jobs. Now, these workers were accused of being sturdy beggars, faking their unemployment in order to get a free handout. Now, there's obviously lots more issues at work here, but people who leave their homes and travel can often be viewed with suspicion. I'm thinking, again, examples of the Roma, Irish travellers, to a certain extent the Jews. The Wandering Jew, or der ewige Jude, was cursed to walk the earth until the second coming of Christ. You get what I'm saying. This is a phenomenon the Quarians really tap into. The Quarians are exiles from their homeworld, Rannoch. It's the characteristic that defines them, more so perhaps than their technological prowess. For the crime of creating and then attempting to kill the geth, The Quarians are cursed to wander the stars forever, never settling, never welcome in any one place. Lone Quarians then leave their race's pilgrimage to go on their own individual pilgrimages. The rest of the galaxy treats them with contempt. They are homeless, rootless, a community of the communityless. But oddly enough, the Quarians agree. They are self-hating nomads who want nothing more than to return to their homeworld and become a proper community again. Their exosuits are a physical expression of this isolation. Every Quarian is effectively carrying a little Rannoch around with them at all times. To lose this totem, to have the suit pierced, is to risk death from an external alien environment. They can only leave the suit once they return home. They can never integrate into the outside world, at least not on the outside world's terms. The suit then both protects and imprisons. It's a symbol of their alienness. And that's important, because in a way, the Quarians are the most alien of all the races in Mass Effect. I know, in a setting with 1,000-year-old frogs and floating jellyfish and extra galactic killer robots, that sounds rather silly, but hear me out. Yes, the Hanar may be physiologically more alien, and the synthetics psychologically more alien, but the Quarians are presented as culturally more alien. Most of the aliens in Mass Effect are written with an American English voice, both in terms of language and accent. They're Star Trek aliens, Americans with funny foreheads and exaggerated personality traits. Compare to Tali. How many times does Tali say Keela Salai? What is Tali's accent exactly? Her voice actor, Liz Sroka, describes it as an unidentifiable pseudo-East European Quarian gypsy accent. The accent thing is something that's picked up to varying degrees by the other Quarian voice actors. Some of the minor Quarian characters put on a similar non-Western accent, but the major characters, Kal Riegar, the Admirals, use their native accents, and only the Iranian Shorer Agdashlus isn't English or American. The voice plays into the idea of the Quarians being somewhat separate, or foreign, to the rest of the galaxy. Their mode of dress does this as well, being inspired by Middle Eastern dress. She's in a helmet, why does Tali need a headscarf? The second function of the exosuit is to obscure the Quarian underneath. Not in the sense of specifically hiding what they actually look like, perhaps, but more to allow the viewer to project their own ideas onto the alien within. She could look like anything you can imagine under there. Orientalism is a concept that has a lot of meanings, but a relevant one here might be the tendency for Western culture to use non-Western cultures as a stage or backdrop for its stories, and the reduction of non-Western cultures into exotica to titillate and excite Western audiences. Look again at Tali's self-described accent. Unidentifiable pseudo-East European Quarian gypsy. It's foreign. It's a foreign accent that's supposed to evoke a sense of foreignness. And it does this not even by picking an accent from a country that would be foreign to Anglosphere ears, an artistic choice which, remember, wouldn't work in that non-English country, it'd just sound normal, but by making up a suitably exotic mishmash of an accent from elsewhere. What I'm saying here is that a lot of the markers that indicate to us that Tali and the Quarians are alien only really work for Western audiences. Tali's headscarf might seem evocative and mysterious to us, but in another culture, it might seem as odd as Tali wearing a 10-gallon cowboy hat on her helmet. The concept of the Quarians as this race of nomads is written from the perspective of a settled culture. The Quarians hate being migrants and want to return home, rather than the perspective of a nomadic culture themselves. I think this is the mechanism by which the Quarians in general, and Tali in particular, work. She's alien, she's exotic, she's foreign, she's alluring. She's different and unusual, from the way she talks and dresses, right down to her basic character concept as a stranger from another culture, a stand-in for the Jewish diaspora. But not in a threatening way, mind, where she might actually believe different things, or have a completely foreign manner of thinking, like Legion in Mass Effect 2. She's not going to take your job or ban Christmas. She's safe. She's a fiction. The alien, exotic, foreign, non-Western, packaged and controlled and delivered to you in a story that's ultimately about you and your community. That she's also super sweet and shy and vulnerable is just the cherry on top of the cake. I've kind of alluded to the Quarians as a metaphor for the Jews just now. It's not an exact fit. The Quarians are the ones responsible for their own diaspora. They are continuous migrants. But there are similarities. The persecution, the Zionism of the Admirals, the importance of the homeland. It'd be a shame to reduce the Rannoch arc to an allegory for the Israel-Palestine conflict. And more importantly, it'd be an embarrassment to reduce the Israel-Palestine conflict to a story in a computer game. But you might want to consider it as a model. I think it's worth thinking about the Quarian exile as a kind of pilgrimage in the Catholic tradition, though. There's a transgression and forbidden knowledge, an expulsion from a perfect world into a world of disease and famine, an act of penance as a form of spiritual transaction to settle the balance, and eventually, hopefully, the return to a state of grace. The Quarians even call their rite of passage a pilgrimage. And in that light, you can kind of see why the Quarians are so obsessed with reclaiming their homeworld. As I suggested earlier, it's not just about the practicalities of having a place to live, but about maintaining and protecting their identity as Quarian.
That's definitely Reaper tech. But what's...
Shepard Commander, help us.
Legion? But you died during our attack on the Collector base.
That's not Legion, Shepard. Not really. It's a VI program, likely from a backup. My people used similar technology to create VI constructs of our dead. However you felt about Legion, that thing isn't real.
I took a chance on Legion the first time, and it helped us.
We are not Legion.
Fine. Let's just get you out of there.
If you're certain, Shepard, just remember, even it says it isn't Legion.
Creator Tali'Zorah, you were familiar with this intelligence?
Yes, we both worked with Shepard.
That is consistent with our records.
So what is this thing?
It uses our networking architecture to broadcast the old machine command signal to all geth simultaneously.
Then getting you out of there will shut off the Reaper's signal.
Wait, you cannot simply remove the restraints. We are secured via hardware blocks nearby that shackle our operating protocols.
I am familiar with the concept.
The AI shackles Cerberus used to keep you under control.
Yes. Used by organics, it is understandable. For geth to install this in a formally independent unit is unnecessary.
The hardware blocks are on the far side of the room.
Far side of the room, you said?
Yes, deactivation should be simple. The geth protected them against viral attack, not physical removal.
How'd the Reapers get control of the geth?
They did not. The creators attacked. The geth wished to live. The old machines extended an offer.
I thought normal geth didn't want to submit to the Reapers.
The geth serving Saren recorded him asking you a question on Vermeer, Shepard Commander. Is submission not preferable to extinction?
Saren ended up indoctrinated. Worse than a slave.
We were restrained because we agreed with your assessment.
We'll have you out of there soon.
The geth only allied with Reapers for self-preservation.
Nothing excuses an alliance with the Reapers. They could have found another way.
The geth are ostracized by all organic races. They had no other choice except to die.
We don't even know if that thing is telling the truth. Remember, it's not really Legion. It's not loyal to anything but its own people.
Understood. Got it.
Tali'Zorah to fleet. The signal is about to go offline.
This is Admiral Han Gerrel. We're in your debt.
Hardware blocks offline. We are free. As a gesture of cooperation, we have disabled the Dreadnought's drive core. All weapons and barriers are offline. Alert! Geth reinforcements incoming!
The second act of Mass Effect 3 concerns itself primarily with wrapping up the Quarian Geth War. We can make some useful comparisons between this and the Genophage arc. Both are reflections of this overarching creator-created conflict, but with the Quarians, it's both more literal and more obvious. The Quarians created the Geth in their own image. You can see it in the feet, the hands, the shape of their heads, but ended up in conflict with their creations. One of the more common expressions of the creator-created conflict, perhaps just after daddy issues, is the conflict between organic and synthetic life. That is, the idea that artificial life inevitably turns on its creators, something that Isaac Asimov always disparagingly referred to as the Frankenstein complex. There's quite a few examples scattered across Mass Effect, particularly in side quests and optional missions, but the Quarian Geth War is the biggest. The Quarians and the Genophage are arguably the two big pillars of the setting, the two plot threads that weave through the entire series, starting with Rex and Tali back in Mass Effect 1. But this is true also in a more diegetic sense, in that the Mass Effect setting is dominated by these two, by now ancient, cataclysms. These two galaxy-shattering events continue to seep poison to spark conflict centuries after they have ended. The clearest example is Saren's army back in Mass Effect 1, one half heretic Geth, one half Krogan clones. In Mass Effect 2 we see more consequences. The casual anti-Quarian racism on the Citadel and Omega, military adventurism in the flotilla, the warped culture of Tuchanka, Krogan children that will never know their fathers. And like the Genophage, in Mass Effect 3, things finally come to a head. The war will be resolved once and for all. By addressing this conflict, Shepard continues their campaign to fix the galaxy and find a solution to the madness of Cronus, and BioWare continues their plan to wrap up the Mass Effect series with a neat little bow. There are some differences between the Quarians and the Genophage though. Obviously the roles are reversed. Our in with the Genophage is Rex or Reeve, the Krogan clan chief. The Krogan were unruly children who threatened to destroy their Solarian creators through irresponsible expansionism. In turn, the Solarians cast the Krogan down by effectively castrating them. With the Quarians it's the other way around. Our in is Tali, the Quarian princess. The Quarians created their successors, the Geth, in an act of hubris, and later attempted to destroy them in an act of ruthlessness. The Quarians, the creator stand-ins, lost though. The children, the Geth, exile their creators from their home, Rannoch. Another aspect to consider is the way in which the conflict is presented to us, particularly in how that presentation evolves over time. Now, Mass Effect 1 is quite underwritten in parts, so it doesn't say much about the Genophage beyond introducing it to the audience. In Mass Effect 2 though, the Genophage is expanded and developed into a morally complex issue. In the first game we had only Rex's view, entirely valid but largely focused on the current decline of his race. Mordin and Grunt are introduced so that we can see different perspectives on this crisis. Mordin in particular offers historical grounding for the event. The Krogan were uplifted to fight a war they never asked for. and ended up in an ecosystem neither they nor the galaxy were prepared for. The genophage is a war crime, an act of physical and cultural genocide. However, they are clearly the aggressors in the Krogan rebellions. The genophage is intended merely to balance the equation, in theory the missing element that keeps the Krogan population at sustainable levels. By the time of Mass Effect 3 though, and this may depend on your import conditions, the Krogan are undeniably the victims of galactic oppression. Under the benevolent dictatorship of Urdnot Rex, or the normal dictatorship of Urdnot Reeve, the Krogan are controlled, mature, capable of joining the galaxy as equals. The Dalatrass, by contrast, is petty and spiteful, her perhaps legitimate concerns buried underneath her villainous characterization. I think most people would agree that curing the genophage is the morally correct action by and large. There's room for debate, but Mass Effect 3 ultimately presents the cure as the idealistic, optimistic, heroic option. A conflict that was being opened up to multiple perspectives through Rex, Grunt and Mordin is, for the most part, closed off again. But I've already explained why I find Tuchanka somewhat disappointing. We get a similar kind of development of the Quarian-Geth war. An initially straightforward moral conflict is revealed to be more complex. What's funny is that it's kind of a reversal of what happens with the genophage. We're initially sympathetic to the victim child Krogan via Rex, but understand the aggressor parent Salarians more as the games go on. Up until Mass Effect 3 anyway. With the Quarians and the Geth though, we're initially sympathetic to the Quarians, the creators who started the conflict. The Geth are foot soldiers for Saren and Sovereign. The Quarians are galactic underdogs, without a home and distrusted by others despite their worthy intentions. Tali is our loyal buddy, and it's through her exposition that we learn about the two races. So in Mass Effect 1 we think of Quarians as good, kind, misunderstood, like Tali, and the Geth are faceless servants for an unknowable evil. But Mass Effect 2 then muddies the waters with Legion and Tali's loyalty mission. Legion provides his perspective, and the history of the conflict paints the Quarians in a very poor light. The Quarians attacked the Geth in an effort to hide their illegal AI research. The Geth chased the Quarians off their planet but didn't pursue them. In fact, they were and are content to live and let live. No grudges. Tali's loyalty mission, meanwhile, exposes the Quarian Admiralty for the bickering warmongers they actually are. At the same time, of course, we still see the Quarians portrayed more sympathetically, for example the Traveller being victimised on the Citadel. The Quarians remain migrants of necessity, persecuted by the Council for crimes long past, an intra-galactic crisis ignored by the developed powers. In Mass Effect 3, I think Rannoch perhaps works better than Tuchanka because BioWare better follows this progression of ambiguity. By starting this war, the Quarian admirals are clearly in the wrong, but they're also the allies we have to deal with, and Tali and Zalkoris are sympathetic faces that keep us on side. The Geth are victims yet again, but in allying with the Reapers, they cross a moral boundary. Legion, or his replacement, is a friend, but he's no longer entirely Geth, and his loyalties are ultimately divided. Now, this moral ambiguity is not quite as carefully handled as I imply. Sometimes BioWare lays it on almost too thickly, as his conversation with Han Gerel and Daro Zen shows.
Endangered us all. I should charge you with treason.
I was within my authority as Admiral of the Heavy Fleet.
And what of Shepard? And Tali'Zorah?
They escaped unharmed. Shepard, the mission parameters changed. You're military, you understand that.
I understand that you wasted your chance to withdraw safely.
The Dreadnought was a perfect...
Admiral, you jeopardized your mission and your people. Get the hell off my ship.
Shepard, I understand you're angry.
If I didn't need your fleet...
He nearly got us killed, Ron.
You must understand. The geth inflicted heavy casualties before you disabled the Reaper signal.
You said they have a planetary defense cannon?
Had. Admiral Chorus sacrificed his own ship to destroy it. He crash-landed on the home world.
The Normandy can assist with rescue efforts.
Thank you, Commander. I think the worst is over. The geth no longer possess the programming upgrades they had while enslaved by the Reapers.
Shepard Commander, we are prepared to offer assistance.
What the hell is this?
Wait. Everybody calm down. It's a hologram reconstruction of some kind. The original geth was named Legion. It died helping me fight the Collectors.
This is a fascinating prototype. With some study, I may be able to use it to find a weakness in the geth consensus.
Legion helped me in the fight against the Collectors.
So did your pistol. Should I worry about it?
I don't think you want to continue this line of thought, Admiral. Legion is my friend. More importantly, it's our best source of information on the geth.
The scientific benefits
are off the table.
We'll see worse in a later video too. BioWare seems to trend towards building up the children figures as sympathetic, more so than the creators. However, with the Quarians, I don't think it ever quite crosses the line into making one side seem completely unreasonable. The Genophage dilemma was one-sided, the product of willful callousness on the Salarians' part. The Ark was a necessary conflict we started, required to save the Krogan. With the Quarians though, we maintain these multiple perspectives, the Quarians and the geth, the Hawks and the Doves. And even that's a development from their appearance in Mass Effect 1 and 2, where the geth were our enemy and where Han Gerrel was our friend. Furthermore though, we want to stop this war. With the Krogan, the Salarians were an obstacle to our success. We needed the Genophage resolved. With the Quarians and the geth, neither is the obstacle, but neither side is right either. And this is an ambiguity that, if carried to the end of the arc, in theory should produce a dilemma that will genuinely challenge the player. In theory.